everyone, here we go again. I feel like I spend my life doing these things now, but hopefully we can get back to college soon and I don't have to and I can just come and help you as normal. This is kind of where I left the last sort of tutorial with a headline, my images, and a couple of other images that are going to kind of work in and around my article itself. Talked a little bit about using your layers over here, very, very, very important. And a massively important part of that is making sure that they are nice and locked. Just to sort of move on, I put these images in here, and some of you are going to use this sort of approach for yours, and happy days, good on you as well. Now, one thing that I'm just going to start off with a bit of a sort of outer border on each of my images. I just want them to stand out a little bit more. So with that one in mind, I'm just going to pop a little border onto each of these. What have I done there? Yep, 9 and 9, that'll do nicely. And if I zoom in a little tiny bit, you'll see this is how they look. Now, with that one in mind, I'm kind of thinking to myself, okay, they're fine for now. But I want to rotate them a little bit. I want to give it a little bit of a different feel and a different sort of technique to it. So what you need to do is if you click on the image and then hover over the top, you'll get that sort of little circly arrow. And once that comes into play, if you click on your mouse or on your keypad on your computers, click down and you can just twist it left or right, however you want. I'm going to go with something that looks a little bit like that, just because I'm going to. No reason other than that. All right. And there we go. That's kind of how it works. But actually, you know what? I'm not happy with that one there. So I'm going to place that one underneath. So again, just using your layers, similar sort of way that Pixlr did. If you just drag your layer just on the right hand side, as you can see, and just drop it underneath, hey presto, there you go. So it will just work in and around those layers a little bit more. All right, so think about that when you come to your images. As I said, just sort of hover over the top, click on it, hover over the top, and then there you go. Don't forget, if you're happy when they're in place, just lock them. It's always good practice, just so you know that things are not going to start shifting all over the show and start messing up all your hard work that you've been doing as you go along. All right, so now I'm just going to start to work in and around the actual copy in some of my columns. So remember, if you click on your ruler and you pop out from the side, you can all start to put these in place and start to build up how you're going to want your columns to work. So ideally, you might want a few of these, just so you've got a little bit of space in between your columns. Okay, 10 points for anybody who knows what that space is called in between the columns. Yeah, I can hear you all shouting the answer out to me through this tutorial, and there we go. Oh my God, this dictionary, go away. Yeah, so the space in between each of your columns is simply called the gutter. So if you are thinking of going into desktop publishing in future, then it is called the gutter. So the little bit of space in between your columns is called the gutter. And let's just move that along because that's not really in position. That looks a little bit better. Okay, they're obviously not accurate because I'm rushing and want to get them done and run through this as quick as I possibly can to help you get on your way. But for me, I'm just going with 3 examples of columns. So they are just guides for me to work in and around. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to click over here on my body text. So click on your T, click onto your body text. Obviously, there are tons of different sort of styles that you can do, but you've got to pay for them. So don't worry about going into those sites. Let's just get that body text in there and you'll see it will drop it up at the top. So if I zoom in a little bit and come off that, let's get rid of that actually, because it's not great. So let's click back on the T and let's just drag that. Let's just actually physically drag it over here to where our body of text is. All right. Maybe my background is a bit too dark to work upon, but you know what, for now, let's not bother. So we drag those corners out. Let's get it down to the sort of bottom of the page there. And I'm going to move it up, and looking at it, I'm fairly happy with it looking a little bit like that. I've got a bit of space in here to stick a subhead in. You know what, I might just drop that down ever so slightly. So it works like so. And there we go. So last Monday lesson, I asked for you all to write your copy for your article. Sorry, let me just get rid of that. Go away. And again. I asked you to all have a little go at writing your copy for your article. And that's what we're going to start to begin with for today. So that's my sort of subhead, which I'll add in a little bit later on. But this is going to be my first sort of body of my copy. So I'm just going to copy that from my Word document. And then I'm just going to place it into there by pasting it, no problem at all. That ain't working too well. So you know what? Let's just make it white. See how that one comes out. Yeah, all right, that's mint. That's okay. I'm happy with that. Yeah, and we will just continue to add in the following bits of copy, like so. Simple, straightforward, and easy enough. That'll do for now. That's just going to do for now. I'm fairly happy with that. But one thing that is extremely conventional for your magazines is having your drop cap. And of course, everybody's going to say, I know what the drop cap is, I know what the drop cap is. So whilst you're screaming at this video, I know what it is. You will all know that the drop cap is the first letter and it's often a little bit bigger than the rest. So I've deleted the I out of that opening paragraph. And what I'm going to do from there is I'm just going to go to text, I'm going to go back to body, and in here I'm just going to put a capital I. Obviously you can't see that too well. Delete that out and I'll put my capital I in there and pop back to my text up here. Remember, this is where we can change the size, and I'm just going to go with 45 to begin with. Yeah, that's not far off, that's okay. Change it from black into white so it stands out a little bit more against my background. And what I'm going to do from there, I'm just going to click off, I'm going to go back onto it, and I'm just going to drag these edges in. This is sort of quite important with wrapping everything around. So I've got my eye, it's quite happy and easy enough sat there, and I want it to kind of work in and around here. So what we have to do is we now have to start using some of the text wrap to be able to get our sort of desired effect of using the drop cap and wrapping all the other text that might be around it as well. So what we'll do is we will just pop over here. Sorry, not into paragraph styles. Ah, damn it, where's it gone? Where's it gone? What a fool. Absolute idiot, honestly. So once you've got your letter I, or whatever your first drop cap is, and you've obviously got your text in there, pop over to layout. Sorry, eventually get there. So what happens when you're kind of doing it as you go along. And all you need to do is you just need to click on this text wrapping. So if you click that on, okay, if you click that on, it will do it however you want. So you can choose all these different options. For me, normally what your best way to kind of go around things is to choose this one here. So wrap that text around the object. So your eye is the object, and obviously you've got your text there. You can clip on it so it's a little bit tighter as well. And sometimes if you sort of move that back across, you will get a nicer looking drop cap. It's never going to be 100% accurate because obviously we're on online software, so we've just got to work in and around what we've got. But ultimately what it will do is it will show you how these conventions will work. All right, so from there we can start to build up some of the other aspects to do with your copy as well. So we can go back to our article, and I'm just going to take this part here, like so, just hide that's a bit more, and drop that into the rest of my article, make it all looking so like that, and let's make that white, and there we go. Oh, damn it. So what you have here is when you run out of space in your column. And you can drag it down, obviously, but that's going to go a little bit further. That doesn't work too badly, though, actually, because we've got all the way down to the bottom of the page. So that'll work quite nicely. But if you decide from there that you obviously want to put it into a new text box, you've just got to kind of delete all that out, and there we sort of go. But that one's worked okay for what it is, and just what I sort of want from this as well. Now, one thing that you might want to have a little look at is, where are we? Back in text, is this hyphenation. And sometimes what you might find is your words are often cut off halfway. So when you've got a word that goes all the way across and it sort of chops it in half and sort of splits it, we sometimes have to make sure that the hyphenation is on. So it stops that from doing it, as you can see. When you put the hyphenation on, oh, sorry, you know what? It has actually done it there. It's brilliant. It's done it automatically when you turn it off. So obviously you've got fash E on over two separate lines there because that hyphenation has been turned on, okay? So if we turn the hyphenation off, it goes back to normal. So it should standard be off. But if you're getting that where it looks like, oh, it's doing that to the words and splitting it in half, it's probably because your hyphenation is on. So if you click on your text, go down to hyphenation, and then just turn that off, it will make it a little bit more followable and more manageable and a little bit more professional looking with how your magazines will be. Okay, and that's kind of how we do it with each of your columns, and hopefully that's kind of worked a little bit more with your wrapping as well at the same time. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to drop a new text box in here. I'm going to put that all the way down to the bottom like so. Just going to go back to my copy, and I'm going to take my next bit of copy, drop that into there, back to text, colour, white to make it stand out a little bit more, and hopefully just to sort of show you quick style, I'm just going to copy and paste that in a couple more times, okay, just to kind of get down there. To cheat even more, I'm just going to try and do it like this. So I'm just going to copy and paste, and it will drop a new text box in here, and there's my final column like so. So that really would be my copy. You can decide yourself how you want it to look and how much information you might have in there, but it's starting to come together all right. It's not too bad actually. I'm sort of actually quite impressed considering that I'm doing this as I'm sort of doing a tutorial at the same time, but it's worked okay. Now one thing that you might decide that you want to do is add a couple more images in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this one that I cut out of LG when I first showed you how to use the Pixlr software. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop that in here like so. With that one in mind, I'm just going to pop back onto my layers, and I'm going to start locking some of these in a bit more so that things can't be done too much to them. So there's my eye that's locked in and all the other ones that are in there as well. Now these were the last two that I put in these two columns, so I'm just going to unlock them for a second, because what I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to try to use this image and see if I can do a little bit of wrapping around of the text in these boxes, in these columns here. So if you go onto that, if you pop onto your layout as well, hoping this will work, and we click onto your wrapping, I just pop each of them on. It's kind of worked. It's kind of worked to an extent. Obviously, we've always got these limitations on how this software will be, but what it has done is it has kind of done it to the outline of the box. If you pop that wrap text on a bit more, hey presto, magnifico, you will be able to see that the image that I cut out in Pixlr, I made it transparent by saving it as a PNG. And what I've simply done there is I've got my two text boxes, my two columns of text that are in there. I've dropped my image over the top, and specifically in this image, what I've done is I've then made sure that everything has been wrapped around that itself. So once you've got your image, go to layout up at the top. You get all these different options. Let's just hide those for a second and make it a little bit easier. And the most important thing here is working in and around here. Okay, I'm messing about with the mouse so you can see it a bit more. And it's this here. So make sure that you wrap your text around the object, and you will need to click on that little tick so that the tick shows exactly the boundary of the image. If you turn that off, it does it to the box, okay? It does it to the framing of the box here. Now, if you clip it tight to the image, that's where this part comes in a little bit more, all right? And that now starts to make things a little bit more apparent with traditional conventions. Fingers crossed this will work as well, but if I make the image a little bit smaller, you see there's more text that's coming in, like so. And we can start to add that in there. And sometimes it might just be a little bit of messing about and a little bit of playing about with the positioning of your images. So you can see now that actually my image is starting to come together okay. I'm quite happy with how this layout is sort of working, to be honest. And there we sort of go. Okay, so that'll do for now. We'll maybe come back and just do something a little bit more final and finishing everything off for the article page. Okay, cheers for sticking with us. Hopefully this one has actually been a little bit more helpful with using those columns of your copy. Cheers guys, thanks for sticking with us as always. Nice one in a bit.